come from the Basque Country, in the north of Spain. My name is Maija Maraña, and she's Cristina Soares. And we will be presenting you, the main mentoring program we do have at the moment, which is called Izeba Project. Izeba means in Basque, owl. So it has already an idea of the type of project we will be presenting. I am sure that you know where the Basque Country is, but just in case, so this is Spain, as you know, and France, so we are in the middle, and we are from Gipuzkoa, which is this province. It is one of the 3 provinces of the Basque Autonomous Region. The population is 727,000 people, and we have 2 languages, Spanish and Basque. And we were also showing that, for example, in the Basque Autonomous Region, we have around 11% of immigrant people, for example, just you to make an idea. Baketic is I don't see it very well. Baketic is let's say, from a juridical point of view, it's a foundation, but we always say that we are an NGO since we run for funds among public institutions in concurrence with other associations. That is our main source, let's say, of funds. We were created 15 years ago in 26, and when we were created, it was very related to the situation of violence related to political point of view in the Basque Country, and the idea was that society needed to be, let's say, involved, engaged in solutions in a personal and social way, let's say. So one of our main working areas is peace and reconciliation. Now that 10 years ago the violence has stopped, let's say, we are dealing with the post-conflict situations, and also related to that idea of working in conflicts, let's say, or conflictual areas or situations. We also were, let's say, invited, forced, or we were engaged in the mentoring project we will be presenting today, because it is in reaction to a conflictual situation, let's say. We do still facilitate some proposals and situations when there are different kind of conflicts. We also have capacity building, and we create some kind of studies and knowledge. But let's focus just in this project in Gipuzkoa, in this province. It's the Izeba Project, yeah. And it's a network of families or individuals that through social mentoring act as uncles or aunts, yes, of minors in care, to help improve their quality of life or possibilities of social inclusion. Yes, these minors can be natives, can be foreigners, and also unaccompanied migrant minors, most of them. And all of them are under the guardianship of the Provincial Council of Gipuzkoa, yes, of territory, and lives in foster houses, yes. Yeah, one of the characteristics of these children is that they do not live with any kind of family, not their origin families, not other family. They live together with other children in institutional facilities. The main aim of the project is, as I say, to improve the quality of life of children and adolescents in vulnerable situations in care, but through the creation of stable and positive family references of affectivity. And these family references focus in the social integration and in their individual development, creating better future opportunities. It's a project promoted by Baketi Foundation and agree and in collaboration with the Provincial Council of Gipuzkoa, institutional, public and private collaboration or partnership. Yeah, one of the things that I think is quite, also listening to the previous meeting, those children, they have all their basic needs covered. Education, house, food, but of course social workers who are working plus living with them, they can provide that emotional or social cohesion that any volunteer could provide. And one of the main characteristics of this project is that it is built among very different agents. One is the public institution who has a tutelage, let's say the legal responsibility for the children. The other one are the social workers who are contacted by a company, for example, could be. And then we are another step, let's say another agent, because we are an NGO who is helping to identify the volunteers. So it means that there are many professionals with very different aims, and then we have the volunteers who are providing their time, plus the children who decide to participate. So I mean, like 5 different agents, in theory with the same objective, but I mean, it's quite difficult sometimes to work among ourselves.
Yes, and that's why we say that it's a coordinated collective program, yes, with all the elements that Michael said. And in this case, all the program works because all this year works, yes, but the principal key or the main key is the coordination about all the participant parts. The situation of care in Gipuzkoa is not the same as in the northern Europe. In Gipuzkoa there are more than 800 children under the public tutelage, and 400 of them in foster families, and more than 450 in public buildings or in foster houses. And of which the 15% are participating in the Izeba Project, and has one aunt or uncle reference for them, a mentor.
Yeah, when we were also analyzing, I mean, because 800 children, it doesn't seem so much, or yes. I mean, for example, it is the same amount in Gipuzkoa, which is so small, like in Germany, the whole Germany. So it means that in Gipuzkoa, I mean, there are many children still living in these facilities. It means that we have there a need, let's say. And if you can see in the charter here, I mean, it's just 15% of those children who are really now engaged into the project, because, I mean, we let's say, we will see, but we cannot afford more. We wanted also to ask you if, I mean, if children in your regions, they still live in public facilities, or?
Yes. Italians, they also do go in foster care. Migrant children, in our region,
That's it.
they don't go in foster care, because they are old.
Okay.
But
from
they
which age?
they are plus 16, so they are not like
Okay.
small babies
Okay.
to care.
Okay, in Gipuzkoa, the decision is until 18. So those arriving also, I mean, 16 years old, non-accompanied minors, for example, and those kind of things, they are still in this bunch of people.
No, also for us, but they don't go in foster care.
Okay.
Because,
Yeah.
okay.
I have no actual
Okay.
idea, but I think children over here are in both situations, in foster care and in public facilities. But I don't have any numbers.
Where are you from?
From here, from Leeuwarden.
In Germany, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That there are
No
still-
numbers as well.
Yeah, okay, don't worry.
The context of the program, we are 16 years old, and it's a program that started in 2008 as an ethical proposal of the situation of the unaccompanied migrant minors. Yes, Gipuzkoa, due its geographical location, is a territory of a lot of transit, migration from Africa to Europe, France and Europe, and in these years, in 2007, we experienced the first important migration wave of unaccompanied migrant minors, principally from the Maghreb, and by the institutions of care, there were important difficulties to care, to reception, to integration, all of them in social context. And for this reason, we proposed this project, this Izeba Project, as a social response because we believe that the responsibility of these boys, because they are boys, it's not only of the public institution, it's of the whole society, and this is a kind to
A way to engage.
Yes, to engage with them. No? And later in 2011, the public institution proposed Baketic, our foundation, to extend the experience to all the of the program to all the minors under his guardianship. Yes, that is to add to the program to minors with family references in the territory or near, or not only the unaccompanied ones.
Yeah, the issue is that it was at the very beginning thought for a very specific part of those children under tutelas, and then it was considered as a very good practice. The results were quite amazing. So, I mean, the decision was to expand it to all types of children under this guardianship of the public institutions.
And this group of boys, did they come by themselves, or is there
Yes.
family
No,
coming
they were
along with
coming
them?
along.
Yes.
I think they were sent maybe from Morocco or
Yeah.
Tunisia.
Mainly Morocco, also
Most of
Algeria.
them
Yeah.
are Morocco, Algeria,
Yeah.
and Africa,
Yeah.
center, middle,
Yeah.
north,
Oh, yeah.
south, no.
Yeah.
no.
And their aim normally is to arrive to France or
Yeah.
parts of Europe, but since Gipuzkoa is providing them with this, let's say, welfare system until they are 18, it is also true that many of them they stay there.
Mother talk us about this coordination, about the different parts, and like she says, focusing in the institutional partnership, we work with the political level to take decisions towards and similar things. With the institutional technical agents, this is a key level between the political level and the social workers, or in the daily management, and of course with these social workers of the foster houses, yes, because they are who have a direct relationship with the mentors, yes. It's in the today.
Yeah, in the day.
And who are the children? Where are they? They are in the part of the institution because they are in this tutelage, and they are the main protagonists of the center of the program. Yes, and the profile of the mentees in this case of the program, people or children or adolescents from 8 to 17 years old. With a poor social structure that needs support to expand its social capital. They need boys and girls who need support to improve their emotional management without highly disruptive behaviors, and with motivation and commitment to participate and to link with a voluntary family. Yes, and now we are participating in this. The 54% are boys. Yes, here we are.
Boys and girls.
Yes, and yes, very little.
So this is native.
Yes.
These are those which are not accompanied minors, and these are foreigners, not specifically those ones.
With families or family references in the territory.
And the age from 6 to 12 and from 13 to 18 or 17.
Yes. And about the volunteers, the mentors, yes, it's of course the main reference is people in legal age. Can be a person, individual, couples or families with or without children, with motivation, commitment, and with the certificate of not being included in the sexual natural crimes register of Spain, that is obligatory.
Mandatory.
And the participate now the mentors, 47% are alone, couples and family.
Yeah, this is alone. I mean, just one person could
Yeah.
be. Yeah. These are couples, and this is family. Normally, with children, we call it family.
Yes,
Okay, it's not.
With one or two adult reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And about the main reference, the key person or the
Yeah.
are
Yeah,
most of them.
Yeah, nearly 70% are women, then 30% men, and then 2% others.
And here we are some dates of the program, the relationships that we start each year, active relationships inside the program.
This is the ones we start every year. As you can see, it is quite stable because we cannot start more and more and more. But of course, it is growing up in other levels.
Yes.
So this is the ones we start every year. This is the active relationships we have now.
Yes, the great
Oops.
ones.
I touched it, I think. The yellow ones are the one that makes sense to our proposal because it is, I mean, once they get 11, they turn, 18, they are, let's say, get out of those programs and also they get out of our Izeba program. But, I mean, our foundation, we decided that, that this couldn't be the reality, and families and mentors in general, they ask us, they tell us that they continue being that. So, as you can see, yellow are those who have been kept after the official program is closed, let's say.
Yes, and continue the relationships, and blue ones are both, no?
All the sum of the.
So, do you
Yeah.
continue to support these pairs, even if they are out of marriage?
Yeah, we will explain it more.
Yes,
in
because
the-
of this reason, just this data is growing each year, and we think that we have to do something with them. They won't continue with this reason.
In theory, we don't support them in the sense that, for example, I mean, the government doesn't provide us with money for that age. But I mean, Christina was, I mean, she couldn't do that. So, I mean, in a very informal manner, we started to do it. And now we are doing our best to get funds from other sources to make it a real program. I mean, it is a real, let's say, practice. We wanted to make a real program also, I mean, with funds.
It's a program we are starting right now, last year, I think. And we want to accompany these relationships with a low intensity accompaniment, but accompanying them. Yes. And Izeba Project is considered a good practice, both in the Basque Country and in other territories of Spain. And for this, we work hard in management of the program and in the impact of the relationships. And for us, there are some quality indicators. No, the protocol of the practice joined with the protective service, the meetings of participants and training sessions that we do continuously during the relationships, and different studies and research that we have done all over these years. Satisfaction questionnaires, we do the same since 2014. We did the systematization of the project in 2016. We made a study about the emancipation of the former foster jobs in the Izeba Project and how this family references accompanied them in this process. And this year we have get the quality mentoring seal from the Coordinadora Mentoría Social de Mentoring Europe in Spain. And we have some pictures of meetings and training sessions, and the minor as the research. Yes.
So as we told you, I mean, we were sure that it was a good practice. We have, I mean, let's say the daily inputs from mentors, from mentees, etc. But we needed, of course, evidence-based documents, as we were discussing this morning. So in 2016, we created the biggest study we have until today, which was involving institutional agents, both the technicians from the public institution and the social workers who work in the daily reality of the facilitation services, the children, and the mentors or volunteers. So we saw that when we talk about how, I mean, or why do people decide to participate, there is no just one reason. There is a diversity motivation. The program, in any case, is not very well known. We still believe that it should be, more, let's say, presented to different agents in the territory. And there is also some kind of quite a big autonomy for the mentor to decide on how he or she would like to be a mentor. How to proceed with the mentor proposal, let's say. In any case, we do have some basic standards.
Yeah.
For example, just you to know, the mentors are supposed to get in touch with the mentee at least once a week for one plan, whatever. Going to cinema, going to the beach, just making homework together, but at least once a week. And then from that to the reality, the variety is huge. That's the minimum we request them once a week, and then the reality can be completely different. For example, during the lockdown, even some of the mentees decided to move to these families for a while because, they are not having the children with them, but they can go for, I don't know, a weekend, holidays. So relations. In general, the situation, the reality is that they are let's say, natural, normalized relationships based on the daily bond, of the shared activities. They are fluid relationships. In general, we do not have problems between mentors and mentees that we need to work on. And then in general, mentors will recognize that the idea of having Baketic as an NGO helping them is very important because social workers could never help them in their mentoring processes. When we think about meeting, capacity building proposals, etc., sometimes it's quite difficult to merge all the diversity we have. Some are senior people, some others are families, some others are, and also the reality with children, because if we want to do anything with those children, we need to involve the public institutions to provide us with the okay so it makes a huge environment of ideas, and so many of them, they want just to meet other mentors just to share ideas, others want to have fun together, so
and here we have to add the needs and the goals of the program, the relations, and it's difficult.
Yeah, and we are forced also to provide you some capacity building facilities, and then of course, looking to the strengths, we really consider that coordination of all the agents, even if it is hard, it's important because it provides, it gives a very interesting result. And the idea of volunteering, of involving local people in, let's say, social programs. Capacity building is also a need when we work with mentors, and as we were also seeing this morning. And our main conclusion in the report was that mentoring, or let's say the links, go beyond 18 years old. So it means that during those years, it can be 5 to 10 that they are under the official program, people create some kind of a link, emotional link, that continues once the program is over. Of course, in the weaknesses, it is true that there is a huge diversity in understanding the program, what it is for, which role for each agent, etc. Then, 3 years ago, we decided that we needed to listen to those who had been children already, young people who had been participating in the program. So in 2019, we created different kind of formula to interview the young people who were already out of the program. And they said that in the emancipation process, for them it was super important when they got that dramatic moment, age of 18, to know, which resources they had up from that moment onwards. Because they were thrown to the streets like adults when they weren't. And they were also very happy of having this relationship with that Izeba, because they considered that Izeba family mentor was helping them to take decisions, supporting that decisions. Also, the idea that they could share their emotional problems with someone, Then, I mean, it is true that these young people, they do not have just one reference in their adulthood. I mean, but the Izeba reference for them is quite important. There are also different types of relationships from that moment on, because I mean that rule, for example, of once per week is broken. So, and they, in general, young people, they used to say that the relationship with the mentor was fluid and quite natural. So they really believe, and it is true, that if we compare, we don't have like specific studies, we will need to work further on that. But I mean, if we compare those children, young, who has been under the program and those who has not been under the program, there are quite, I mean, significant differences. And we see better results of social inclusion, finding jobs, etc., in those who has been under the mentoring program. So it means that those mentors are really providing them with instrumental support, providing them with information that they would not have, information, and of course emotional support. And maybe we thought that it was interesting that you could see